I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but in this video, I'm going to be explaining to you why trading is going to be getting a little bit more difficult for the next couple of months. But the good news is I'm also going to be telling you what you can do to make sure that you don't incur many losses, and also what you can try and do to make sure that you maximize on the opportunities that are still going to be available. So the reason why trading is about to get more difficult is because we've just entered into the month of July, and historically July and August aren't the best months to trade Forex in. And the reason for this is because often July and August are the months when the brokers or the traders or the big market makers are taking their summer holidays. And any time when the big market makers are taking their summer holidays or not trading or not active in trading, then often the markets move in very small movements. You can see that there's not as much volume moving in the markets. Often the candles are a lot smaller. Often the market tends to move in little ranges, and you don't see many of those big moves or those big, nice trending moves. And it's funny because it sounds so obvious when you say it. When there isn't as much volume moving the markets aren't moving as much. And it sounds so obvious to say that. But I think because we're so used to having everything all the time and everything's run by robots or computers these days, I think we sort of almost expect that the financial markets are controlled by robots and computers rather than by human beings who actually do want to spend some time with their families and take holidays. And it's also worth pointing out as well that that period between Christmas and New Year's is exactly the same. It's really, really difficult to make money in that time period, and also on bank holidays. So I strongly suggest that any time when the banks are on holiday, that you should have a rule as a trader to take a holiday as well. Now, over the summer, obviously the banks aren't on holiday and the markets are still moving, and you will still get some big moves happening. They're just not as frequent. So you can still make money over the summer. So it is still worth trading. It is still worth looking at the charts every single day. You just need to be aware of the fact that the markets are moving a little bit differently. And if you are aware of that and you understand why that's happening, then you can adjust your trading a little bit so that you don't lose as much money. Because I often hear of traders losing a lot of money in the summer because they're trying to force trades that aren't there, or they're trying to trade in the same style that they were trading in the previous 6 months. So I am going to be telling you in this video how to adjust your trading, and I'm also going to be offering you a free cheat sheet which I can send you by email. So if you do want to have access to the cheat sheet, which is going to relate to the second half of this video, then make sure you stay right until the end so you don't miss finding out how to make the most of that. I'm going to quickly show you an example of what I'm talking about on the Euro US dollar from 2020. So actually it started to go a little bit sort of sideways almost in June. There wasn't too much movement in the markets. We started to get these small little candles. Bearing in mind, we are on the day chart. I just thought I'd point that out. So we're on the day chart. Can you see there's just very small movements at this point? You don't have a lot of opportunity to make a lot of money in these places here. And then here it's just going up and down. This is getting into July now. So this is the 10th of July. Now we actually got this breakout halfway through July. So can you see it was still a little bit sticky here, it broke out, but then we had this big move up. So this just shows you that there are still big movements that are possible. So there is still money to be made. But what you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be trading in this part here. So you don't want to be over trading or trying too hard to look for trades that aren't there and actually causing your account some damage by trying to force trades that aren't there. But then obviously you want to be aware of when to be paying attention so that you don't miss moves like this. And can you see that then we had about a week or so when the market shot up and then it starts to go sideways again. So this is now August and it's starting to go sideways. So again, this would be a very difficult trading opportunity. As we start to get into September, it's still going sideways, actually still difficult for quite some time. And then it shoots up again here. So there definitely were opportunities to be made, but they weren't every day. So I'm going to be telling you how you can know when to look for the good opportunities. So often when you are trading over the summer months, or when the market's sort of been stuck in this range and it's moving sideways and it's moving with, very small volume, Often this can happen just before a big news event or a big piece of economical news. And often that's the market being a little bit indecisive in the run up to some economical data due to be released. So it's almost like no one really wants to commit or make a big decision in the run up to it. So it's very normal that if there is some economical data coming out, that the market will stick in a range a little bit. So the piece of advice that I would say that if you are going to be trading over July and August is that you want to be very aware of what economical news is due out. And I've made an economical calendar cheat sheet for the month of July. So if you'd like me to email you a free copy of July's economical calendar cheat sheet, then send me a quick email on info@tradingangel.co.uk and just call it economical calendar cheat sheet. And if you ask me very nicely, I will probably send you one to help you through the month of July. And I'm going to show you it now to explain how it can be used to help your trading over the summer. So this is my economical calendar cheat sheet for the month of July. So what I've tried to do is make it as easy to understand at a quick glance as possible. So what I've done is I've put the flags next to the currency pair that the economical news will affect. The idea is that you just look at a particular day and then you can see straight away which currency pair it's likely to affect and what the news relates to. So it's also color coordinated as well. I trade the 28 combinations of the 8 main currency pairs, which are these ones here. And then I've also added China as well, just because China is such a massive economy and big news in China will often affect the Australian dollar and also sometimes the euro. So that's why I've put it in there, even though I don't actually trade it. So I've abbreviated all the news. So IRD stands for interest rates decision. I've put high equals good, which obviously isn't a hard and fast rule. It's just a bit of a guideline. Often when interest rates are raised in a country, it's good for that currency. And that's just because a lot of foreign investors and a lot of people with a lot of money are more likely to want to put their money into a currency where they're going to get a high interest rate. So over the last couple of years, when we've had really low interest rates, you've seen that the currencies have been fairly weak. But now as the interest rates are starting to be raised to recover from the global pandemic, we're starting to see that the currencies are starting to gain some strength. So interest rates decisions are really fun to trade. I really like it when they are announced. And to be honest with you, the main reason why I wanted to do these cheat sheets is because I wanted to have a printable copy of something that I could just look at very quickly and just glance at it and go, okay, what's out today? Or when are the interest rates decisions out? Or when is the high impact news out? And obviously this is really useful for when you're trading over the summer months like July and August, because not every day is going to be particularly good. So you really just want to be looking for the days when there's high impact news on whichever currency pair you're looking at. So for example, we've got interest rates decisions on Tuesday the 5th on the Australian dollar pair. We've got one here on the New Zealand dollar, and we've got one here for the Japanese yen. So those are going to be fun days, hopefully, to trade on. But we don't really have many other ones. We've got PMI, which stands for Purchasing Managers Index. High is generally good for the currency. We've got quite a lot of those. This is actually recorded after Friday the 1st, but I can tell you that Friday the 1st was a very good day to trade on. There was a lot of movement in the markets on that day. And we've got CPI, Consumer Price Index, or inflation. If inflation is too high, that's bad for a currency. But also you don't want it to be too low. So the idea with inflation is that a stable rise is seen as healthy. So there's a little bit of gray area on this one, but it's just good to know when it's being announced. GDP, gross domestic product, high is good for a currency because this means the amount of stuff that's being produced in a country. So obviously if a country is producing more stuff, then it has more stuff to export and potentially has more stuff to make money from. So we've got the GDP in the UK announced on the 13th and on America on the 28th. So those should be relatively interesting days for those currency pairs. UR stands for unemployment rate, and then I've done /E, which stands for employment. So blue color UR/E is basically any kind of employment news, and obviously high employment is good and low employment is bad, and that's just for really obvious reasons, and that people don't want to be unemployed generally. Some people do, but you know, on the whole, it's good for a country if people are more employed than unemployed. So I've put those there. And HIN is high impact news, and that's pretty much just any news or any kind of press release or anything which I've deemed to be high enough impact to affect the market. And also on days when there was just like, you know, all of these bundled together, I've put high impact news, except for interest rates decisions where I've always put them separately, just because those ones are particularly interesting to trade on. So hopefully you'll find this useful. It's designed to be just really quick and easy to use, and it's particularly good if you can print it out, but I also realize you need a color printer in order for it to actually look good, because the whole point is I've done all these flags and these different colors, and I actually forgot to upgrade my color ink cartridge, and then I printed it out and it looked all washed out and horrible. So you will need a color printer. I know they are expensive, so use the one at work if you can get away with it. Otherwise, you can just use it on your desktop, just have it on your screen. So if you do want a copy of this, make sure you send me an email at info@tradingangel.co.uk, and I would love to send you a free one, and I hope that it helps you through the month of July.